New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee. I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. All right, let's see how much we can get to today. I want to talk about our demands. Up until now, we've been a little vague on that. In fact, I've gone so far as to say, choose your own demands. But that was probably bad advice. And we've reached a point now where I think we do need to get a bit organized. I talked at length an episode or two ago about what kinds of direct action to take, and most importantly, why it's important to organize, to join with an existing group or to create a group. Yeah, the importance of organizing at this point. So I suppose it makes sense, too, that we organize some demands. And without getting ahead of myself, sometimes people want to make the demands small enough so that they're achievable on a local level. Okay, I understand the logic of that, but I think we're also past that. This is not, as they say, not your father's, not your mother's rebellion. It's not let us sit at the front of the bus. It's not 50s, 60s civil rights. It's not hippie anti-war. It's so fundamental. We have to save democracy because fascism has just simply taken hold. You see these lists. I've got one in front of me now. They vary a little bit, but they're pretty consistent. How do you define fascism? Powerful and continuing nationalism? Check. Disdain for human rights? Check. Identification of enemies as a unifying cause? Check. Supremacy of the military? Rampant sexism? Controlled mass media? Obsession with national security? Religion and government intertwined? All of these, check, check, check. Right on down the list. We're here. Corporate power protected while labor power is suppressed. Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. Oh, God. Obsession with crime and punishment, rampant cronyism and corruption. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, demands. I think we need to get some specific demands going. And I don't know exactly what they should be. I'll offer some suggestions today. I want to talk a little bit about the rendition that's happening, which is the word we need to use now is rendition. It's not deportation, because deportation means that you've gone through a process. Due process. Anyone who's deported has an opportunity to make their case. Of course, that's not happening. People are just being snatched in the middle of the night, or sometimes, as we've seen, right in broad daylight, and abducted and taken away. That's not deportation. No, it's not. And as always, want to give you some upcoming events and actions that are going on. Election Day, start there. Election Day is April 1st, Tuesday, April 1st in Wisconsin, and it's a big day. So if you live in Wisconsin, if you have friends in Wisconsin, if you have former friends in Wisconsin, relatives, schoolmates of the past, whoever you got, make sure you've contacted them and make sure they're going to vote. It's an extremely important election. We can't let the MAGA candidate win the seat on the state Supreme Court because that would tilt the court to 4-3 conservative majority. Abortion is back on the table. The complete and full abortion ban is back. And gerrymandering is back on the table. Right now, as I've explained, we here in Wisconsin are approximately a 50-50 state when it comes to conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, and yet the congressional delegation in Washington is 75% Republican. So if the world was anywhere close to fair, it wouldn't be 6 out of 8 D.C. representatives Republican. It would be 4 and 4. And maybe occasionally, depending on the mood of the voters, it might be 5-3 in favor of the Democrats or 5-3 in favor of the Republicans. But generally, it would be split. And that will never happen. That 75% lock on the congressional delegation will be sewn up for another generation. And that can have huge repercussions in the results of federal elections and in everyday legislating in the House. Think where we'd be right now if there were 2 fewer Republicans and 2 more Democrats in the House of Representatives. That's how important Wisconsin is right now, and that's how unfair it is, and that's the size of the impact of Wisconsin on national politics right now. So if you're in Wisconsin, you absolutely have to vote. And depending on when you're hearing this, that might be today. If you're hearing it too late, I'm sorry. Some of you are hearing this in time, so please, Wisconsinites, get out and vote. If you have any kind of relationship with a voter in Wisconsin, please rekindle that relationship for a minute or two. All right, where are we here? We have to talk just for a second, pick up just a couple of points on the attack plans on the Signal app thing. This is trivial, but I just have to mention it. That video clip of Mike Waltz talking with Laura Ingraham, we've all seen it over and over again. They keep playing it. They've been playing it now for a week, where he makes this weird claim that Jeffrey Goldberg's phone number was somehow sucked into his phone. It just doesn't make any sense. So we've all seen that. And here's the thing I need to mention. Laura Ingraham doesn't know what the word pedantic means. She says in that clip that we've seen 100 times, I don't mean to be pedantic, but what are you saying? How did that... She doesn't know what the word means. People, don't use words if you don't know what they mean. What she meant to say, I don't mean to be stubborn about this or obstinate, or I don't mean to keep pushing this. That's not what pedantic means. Pedantic means kind of overly pompous, like faux intellectualism. I'm being pedantic. I'm using big words to try to sound smart. It's an over-reliance on this sort of intellectualism. That's not how she used it. It had nothing to do with what she was saying. So I just had to get that off my chest because it was bothering me. Laura Ingraham doesn't know the definition of the word pedantic, and she used it incorrectly, and it was just bugging me all week until I had to say something. Just a couple things I haven't really heard from anybody else. Did you notice who wasn't on this text chain? Nobody from the Joint Chiefs. The head of the Joint Chiefs wasn't on the text chain. Nobody, in fact, nobody in the military. Nobody. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Because not only did they follow the attack in real time, they literally decided to go on with the attack during the course of this 3-hour text. If you're not following this story too closely, it starts several hours before the first planes drop their bombs. And they're literally debating whether or not to go on with the attack. Well, I'm not sure the president should do this. Well, what does he think? The president wasn't in on this. The president of the United States did not make the final call. These yahoos over a text chat made the decision for the United States military to drop bombs on a sovereign nation. That seems important to me. The President of the United States did not make this decision. And he's not even supposed to make it in the first place. Congress is, according to the Constitution, are the only people who can declare war. But that's long gone. That ship has sailed a long time ago. We abandoned that decades ago. So we've been ignoring the Constitution for quite a while on that one. But now we've taken even another step. The president didn't even decide. These unqualified yahoos, this part-time weekend Fox TV host, made the decision to go forward with the bombs. How is that not part of the story? I don't know why. Apparently, there's going to be no investigation into this at all. Somebody mentioned at one point that they might do an internal investigation. Somebody suggested the military might have the inspector general do an investigation. But oops, that person was fired a couple weeks ago. when all the inspectors general were fired en masse a couple of weeks ago. Remember that? Yeah, so we don't have one. I don't know if there's an acting or somebody. I don't know who took over those responsibilities, if anyone. I don't know. And then finally, is anybody going to do anything about Ratcliffe and Gabbard perjuring themselves in front of a Senate committee? You can't lie to Congress because that's lying under oath. Whenever you're a witness in a congressional hearing, you take an oath, just like you're in court. And if you lie to Congress, you're lying to the American people, and it's a crime. It's called perjury, and you go to jail. And Ratcliffe and Gabbard both lied. Now, the rest of them all lied too, but they just lied to reporters, and that's okay now, I guess. Because when you lie to reporters, you're also lying to the American people, but you haven't put your hand on a Bible and you haven't raised your right hand. You haven't taken an oath. Of course, you took an oath when you were sworn in, so, You definitely took an oath when you were sworn into your position. I guess that doesn't count for anything anymore. So the four big players in my mind are Mike Waltz, the one who actually set up the call, Pete Hegseth, the one who let loose with all this very dangerous attack plan information, and then Ratcliffe and Gabbard, who perjured themselves. All four of them should at the very least be fired, and a couple ought to go to jail. Oh, all right, what else is going on this week? Hey, just a reminder, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Virtually all the executive orders are bogus. They're unlawful. They carry no weight legally. This administration so far has passed nothing as far as legislation. Nothing. Everything he's done is in the form of an executive order, and it's all illegal. It's all illegitimate. The president can't threaten funding. He can't use that kind of threat in exchange for capitulation to his policy. It's a crime. You can't do it. It's like asking the president of Ukraine to find dirt on your political opponent, or you'll withhold military spending. Yes, you can put some conditions on funding. Congress passes certain funds for environmental cleanup. You can't use it to build roads. So, yeah, okay, that's logical, right? I mean, if Congress has an intent within their bill on what they're funding, then yeah, you can tell the recipient of those funds there's certain parameters on how you can spend it. But that's not what he's doing. He's saying to an entire state, follow my edict on abolishing all DEI, or you won't get any funding at all for your state. I'll just hold it all back. It's illegal. He can't do it. Everything he's doing, the Constitution gives him absolutely no power to dictate to schools, to universities, to law firms, to media companies, to nonprofits, to corporations, to podcasters, anybody, you or me. The president writing something on a piece of paper, the president just declaring something, has no force of law. The president can't tell you what to do. I know he's the president, but he doesn't have that power. The Constitution doesn't give him that power. Congress makes the laws, not the president. He can only be a bully. And that's what he's doing. And that's why we have to stand up against it. All of us, all the time. We have to have each other's backs. It's been so disappointing how so many members of the media and some of these law firms and the tech bros and all the people who are saying yes sir, no sir to this guy. We need media, large, small, independent. We need the legal profession. We need universities, public school teachers, administrators, local and state governments, researchers and scientists. He's coming after all of us. We all have to get together and have each other's back. He's playing bully ball. We can't be intimidated. But you can't just stand by and watch somebody get pummeled and do nothing and say nothing. We got to lock arms. We got to stand together. Okay. Here are my top 10 demands from the pro-democracy movement. I'm trusting, but at this point, you are connected with an organization. You've joined an organization. You're seeing people, you're talking with them. At your next meeting, have this conversation or ask this question. What are our demands? We should be clear when we hit the streets, when we conduct our protests, when we implement our direct action. We ought to be clear with our demands. So far, we're a leaderless movement, and in many ways, I'm okay with that. But it would be nice for someone with authority, someone who can really speak for the movement, to voice these demands. So here are my suggestions. The next time you have your get-together, ask, what are our demands? Here's some suggestions. Number 1, impeachment. Immediate impeachment of the Orange Menace. Number 2, impeach J.D. Vance and remove the entire cabinet. The entire cabinet, J.D. Vance, they have to go. Number 3, deport Elon Musk back to South Africa. If you can find reasons to abduct all these students and tourists and unidentified other folks, you can certainly do it with Elon Musk. And he's guilty as hell of a dozen different crimes, infiltrating the government where he has no business, in cahoots with his Lost Boys, and given the keys to the store by the Orange Menace himself. So there's the first 3. 1, 2, 3. Impeach the Orange Menace, impeach and remove Vance and the entire cabinet, deport Elon Musk back to South Africa. Demand number 4, rescind every one of the Orange Menace's so-called executive orders. For all the reasons we talked about, they're bogus. They have no authority in law. Number 5, return all fired federal workers to their jobs. Number 6, restore all federal agencies and funding to pre-January 20 levels. This includes returning autonomous control to all independent agencies. The Kennedy Center, the Smithsonian Institute, the Institute for Peace, others. Number 7, issue formal state apologies and reestablish normal relations with Ukraine, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. You can toss in Denmark and Greenland as well. Formal apology, reestablish normal relations. Number 8, abolish ICE. Number 9, shut down all detention centers and free all prisoners held without charges. And that, of course, includes the men abducted, kidnapped, and flown by dark of night to the notorious prison in El Salvador. And the number 10 demand of our pro-democracy movement, hire 1,000 immigration judges and personnel to expedite due process hearings. As many as it takes, if it's 1,000 or 10,000. We need judges, we need personnel, we need facilities to afford people the due process guaranteed by the Constitution. Just a reminder, the Bill of Rights apply to all persons, apply to the people. Read your Constitution. It doesn't say for those who can prove their citizenship, for those who can show their papers, you have rights. No, it's the people. It's all persons. Read the damn Constitution. People have rights. I'll toss in a bonus. I'll toss in number 11, Spinal Tap style. Number 11, I'd like a forensic examination of all federal computer systems to remove any nefarious software or spyware or AI inserted by Musk and the Dodgy Boys, the artful Dodgy Boys. So there's number 11, my top 10 plus a bonus demands of the pro-democracy movement. All right, some events on our boycott calendar. Coming up April 7th through the 14th is Walmart. For that week, we're not going to set foot in a Walmart. We're not going to go to their website. Not going to buy anything. Please start that boycott early and please make it permanent. But if nothing else, it's on the calendar for April 7th through the 14th. So at the very least, that week, and we can show a spike. We got to show them who has the power. We have to show them who controls the purse strings of what they think is their little playground. Now, this country is not a playground for oligarchs. It's our nation. And effective boycotts can go a long way in first just displaying that power, and secondly, disrupting the cash that is the fuel for their oligarchy. So April 7th through the 14th, Walmart. And mark your calendar. April 18th is our next economic blackout. Economic blackout number 2. That's a full 24-hour boycott on everything. And of course, my recommendation, as always, is to make this a lifestyle. All things corporate should be boycotted all day, every day, for the duration, to the best of your ability. The example I use, if you need to buy batteries for your emergency radio, I get it. I'm not going to jump on you if you break the boycott for things you just can't otherwise do. But yeah, it really needs to be a permanent lifestyle for all of us. We need to produce and consume all possible goods and services locally. A permanent ban on corporate capitulation. Okay, there it is. And as far as events here, if you're hearing this in time, April 1st, Tuesday, April 1st, students of America rise up, set up camp to free Palestine and win back your own free speech. Happening at universities all across the nation, April 1st. Tesla Takedown continues every Saturday here in Milwaukee. Check your local information, TeslaTakedown.com. Great success this past weekend. That continues. And the big one, April 5th, several major organizations, all of them. March on Washington, 5051, Women for Democracy, others, everybody. April 5th. Get yourself on a bus and go to Washington, D.C., or check out what's happening in your state. Most state capitals, most major cities are going to have big, big actions on that day. We the People veto Project 2025. Remove, reverse, restore. Saturday, April 5th. Nationwide day of action. 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. March on Washington, ceasefire now, stop the genocide, arms embargo now, stop the repression, free Palestine. April 5th, Washington, D.C., marchforpalestine.org. Everybody's getting together. You want to be a part of this. April 5th, don't miss it. Other actions coming up, I'll let you know as they get closer on the calendar. In the meantime, I hope you've found good resources. There's a lot of them out there. Check out We the People Dissent. That's a good spot to find and to share direct action. There's something called the Secular Week of Action coming up. Check that out. MoveOn.org. The Working Families Party. We've mentioned Indivisible several times. Indivisible.org. Yeah, find your resources. Let me drop a little bit of good news on you before we go. The visit to Greenland by J.D. Vance was a joke, a dismal failure. It was originally supposed to be this sort of big, happy state visit, and they couldn't find one single person. Not exaggerating. They found 0 Greenlanders willing to meet with J.D. Vance, his wife, and entourage. Not one single person. They went door to door trying to find any individual family, any government official, any business to greet them, to have a little photo op with them. Not one. The entire nation. So he wound up just going to a U.S. military base. Did not see one Greenlander while he was there. It was so pathetic. So good for the folks at Greenland. That's in our good news category today. The Tesla takedown was very successful over the weekend. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people all over the world. Some dealerships forced to close. There was one I especially liked. I saw some video from the one in Berkeley. They had a big old brass band. Yeah, you got to make these things fun. This band was just rocking. Everybody seemed to be having a great time. So, yeah, bring music into everything you do. The judges, the courts, speaking of good news, they're handing down the right decisions. Just like the post-2020 election where he lost 60 out of 61 cases and the one was on a technicality. So just like then, he's losing every court case. Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, which he shuttered. Nope, judge says can't do that. Of course he can't. Like I keep saying, he doesn't have the power to do any of the stuff he's doing. And the courts know it. The Consumer Protection Financial Bureau, judge has ordered that it be reinstated. An appeals court has upheld the previous decision over withholding federal grants and loans. That was from like day 1 or 2 in office. A judge has blocked one of the executive orders aimed at a particular law firm. It's just bullying. There's no force of law in that. The president can't do that. The court knows it. A judge has blocked rendition. Remember, we're not calling it deportation anymore because deportation implies due process. Deportation is legal. What he's doing is illegal rendition. It's abduction and kidnapping without a warrant by plainclothes ICE agents who don't show ID, no uniform, no badge, hoodies, masks over their faces, abducting innocent people, sometimes in the middle of the street in broad daylight. There have been several cases now. We're seeing a new story every day, sometimes with video, these renditions, these abductions. So time is up for this episode. I want to talk more about renditions. We'll do that next time. Didn't get to a lot of the bad news regarding the dodgy boys. That continues to happen on a daily basis. But again, the courts are with us. Okay, so got to go for now. If you're used to listening to this program because it shows up in your feed, it's going to drop Tuesday morning instead of Monday morning because, frankly, I ran out of data for the month of March. Too much content in the month of March. So I had to wait 24 hours for it to flip over to the next calendar month. So that's why this is showing up a day late in your feed. If you are hearing an early version of this, the radio version is still happening on Monday. I've got a link on SoundCloud, which I normally don't promote. Anyway, it's a little confusing. You don't need to know the details. All right. Well, I've confused myself. If you're hearing my voice right now, that's all that really matters, I guess, right? And if there's still time, make sure you vote in Wisconsin or call your Wisconsin friends. All right, I love you. Take care. I'm Charles Purcell.